how my childhood that I considered normal affected me, so that I lost my voice and I avoid conflict. Hi everybody, I'm Thekla Petridou, and today I'm really excited because one of you has sent me a valuable email talking about his life and giving us the opportunity when reading and analyzing the video to understand more about ourselves. Thank you so much. I go ahead to read the email and talk about it. He put the title himself, Childhood, Losing My Voice and Conflict Avoidance. Hello, hi there. My Greek husband is an avid follower of your YouTube channel in Greek and has found your psychological insights to be a valuable addition to his therapy. I'm really happy to learn that people use the psychoeducational videos I upload on my YouTube channel to better their lives. As he works through his childhood traumas, we've been discussing our own childhoods in detail. This is a sign that you are a good couple, a solid couple. People who dare to share their vulnerabilities and their past trauma and have the opportunity and give themselves the opportunity to discuss their childhoods with each other from a psychoeducational perspective are good couples. I'm so happy for you. He encouraged me to reach out to you for your thoughts on my childhood and family experience, as he has connected the dots on how some aspects of my past have influenced my relationships and behaviors, like losing my voice and being conflict avoidant. Okay, I really like your husband. Not only because he suggested that you should write to me and ask for my opinion, but because he loves you so deeply, so that he puts his brain into action. He gives time for you. He thinks about you, so that he tries to connect the dots from your childhood trauma and your current difficulties. This is a good couple, I'm telling you. I haven't met them in person. I've just read the email and I'm excited. Reflecting on my own childhood, I realize how these experiences have shaped my current relationships, behaviors, and personality. And apologies in advance for the stream of consciousness writing. I love this type of writing, and this is the way I also try to communicate my thoughts and the things I want to give out to people. I grew up in a middle-class home in the Midwestern United States. My father is an engineer, and my mother works in an administrative position at a small college. My sister, who is 2 years older than me, and I were always provided with food, a safe place to live, etc. So your basic materialistic needs were met. However, over the years, I have realized that there were few outward displays of love in my family and other family dynamics, maybe traumas, that have impacted me greatly. I honestly cannot remember the last time a mom verbally said that she loves me. I'm so sorry. Demonstrating our love and our affection verbally is a basic tool to help our children feel loved. My family has never really hugged each other either. Oh, this is cold. This is cold. Children need and should receive love. Love by actions, love by hugging, love by words. Talking about how much you love your children telling your children that you love them is essential for them to love themselves and to build high self-esteem. Nowadays, you would say that my parents disciplined me harshly growing up. I remember my mother yelling at me often for being annoying, for lying, or other things I did, like if I broke something or spilled something. So she was yelling at you for being a child, because being annoying, lying, or breaking or spilling something are very normal things for a child to do. Only children that are not intelligent, that are not healthy, do not act like this. It's very normal for children to smash things, to spill the milk, to spill the water, the orange juice, whatever they are drinking. It's very normal for children growing up to use some lies, and the parent is called to give education to these children, to teach them that truth is better than lying. But yelling at children for being children is not loving at all. And it's not only harsh way of bringing your children up, it's also psychologically and emotionally abusive. Abuse is not only spanking children, abuse can come in many forms. And one form of abuse is verbal abuse and emotional abuse. She was also very quick to use spanking to punish me. Oh, so she was also physically abusing you. Wow. She was also very quick to use spanking to punish me, often with a fly swatter or her hand. I recall one time my sister and I, we were probably 4 and 6, had both been spanked by my mom, and we ran into the bathroom and looked in the mirror and could see my mom's red handprint on our butts when she had spanked us. I'm sorry for you. That was not only an imprint of her hand on your butts, it was also an imprint of her violence in your souls. My mom was also keen on handling when I was upset about something by saying, "I'll give you something to be upset about," meaning she would spank me if I did not stop being upset. And if she asked us to do something for her, her saying was for us to do it quicker, if not sooner. This is not just a manipulation. This is not just handling. If she says, "I will give you something to be upset with," this is like threatening you. And this is also abusive, to threaten children. As I got older, around 6 to 8, I can remember threatening to call child protective services or the police on my parents when they spanked me. Wow, I did that also. Threatened to call the police, threatened to call the child protective services. Wow. I read what you write, and it's exactly what happened in my own childhood. And my parents would reply, they, the cops, will take you to a worse family who won't love you. My parents said, if you do so, you will be taken into childcare services and it would be worse for you. And you will also embarrass us. That's what they told me. I am a mother now. I'm a mother of 4 children. And I cannot fathom that there is an opportunity that my children would say, "I will call the child services," or "I would call the police on you for spanking us." And I wouldn't be crushed for feeling to being such a bad mother, so that my children feel that they need protection. Instead of them being alarmed that something was going wrong with their parenting, they blamed it all on you. You are bright, huh? You are intelligent. For another example, I remember I would lean back in my dinner table chair so that only the back 2 chair legs were on the floor and the front were raised in the air. I don't know how old are you? I'm 50. I guess you are younger than me since your parents are still working, so they haven't retired yet. But this is something that all children used to do. I used to do it also. It was fun. It was a game to lean on the back legs of your chair. After continuing to do it repeatedly, even though my parents told me not to do it, my father pushed the chair over, so it and I fell to the ground. Oh, your father is very harsh. This is dreadful. Wow. I was then told that I was not allowed to sit at the table for a month and instead had to stand at the table to eat. They made me do this even when we went out to eat at the restaurant. Oh my. They were also ridiculing you in public. I'm so angry for your parents, and I feel so much for you. My father worked full-time, so he less often spanked or punished me. The only reason he spanked you less was because he was not so much around. Though he did spank me occasionally, and he was fond of telling me I should behave more like my sister. Oh, here comes the triangulation. Your sister is better than you, and you should act like your sister. Also, if I had been in trouble for lying, he will tell me that I would end up in jail one day, because that's where liars go. So he was threatening you that one day you would end up in prison, in jail, instead of teaching you that though lying is an easier way to get out of trouble, the best way, which makes you a better human, is to tell the truth even if you don't like the consequences of telling the truth. And here I will say something else. Which children feel the need to lie? Usually, the children who use lying do it because they are afraid of the consequences if they tell the truth and their parents learn that they did something wrong. Harsh punishments, spanking, physical corporate punishment is making the children afraid, so it's only natural for a child that the child's brain is not fully developed yet as an adult to take the easy way to lie their way out of being punished. And your father didn't worry why my son feels the need to lie. What he felt that it was right for him to do was to threaten you that if you keep lying, you will end up in jail. It is surprising that you do not read this email out of a jail cell. Because when parents make this kind of prophecies, ominous prophecies, they tend to become true, because according to the self-fulfilling prophecy theory, if you are made to believe that something will happen, then without realizing it, you make it happen. If I believe that I will end up in jail and I'm someone that will not live free and that I have such a bad character that will lead me straight to jail, then I will act in ways that are affected by my belief that I only am suitable for jail, for nothing else. Despite these harsh punishments, I recall being terrified if I lost my parents in a store. Like they went down another aisle and I had to go looking for them. That's because you felt afraid, and that's because you had very low self-esteem. This sort of fear of abandonment has spilled over into other aspects of my life, as it is natural, like worrying if my friends like me. And as I write this, I can see how this might be connected to my biggest fears, that I will lose my job, have no money, and have nothing to support me. It's true that writing something down helps you realize better the connections between what happened in the past, what beliefs you have about yourself that have been affected by what happened in the past, and what fears you have now. I was a particularly good student and well behaved in school. I never got in trouble in school, and my teachers always remarked about how good of a student I was. However, I did not have any friends growing up. I can remember other kids teasing me at school for being gay, starting at around 10 years old. The ironic thing was, I was never out, but the kids just could tell I was different. I truly believe that you are born gay. You don't become gay after you're born, so it's only natural for a child when they go to school to maybe feel different or look different to other children. The ironic thing was I was never out, but the kids just could tell I was different, I guess. I did not really have friends until I went to graduate school in my 20s, and I found people I could connect with. Okay. Not having friends is a consequence of not being gay. Not having friends is a consequence of having extremely low self-esteem, of having toxic shame about yourself. Your parents shamed you. Shaming your children is a form of abuse. They shamed you by telling you that you will end up in prison, and by spanking you, and by threatening you, and by giving you such a bad image of yourself. I also did not have a lot of friends because my parents made us work when we were not in school. Child labor. My father is a workaholic. Let him be a workaholic for himself. Why impose this on his children? Most weekends growing up, we had to either help do things around the house, like yard work, helping my father fix or repair things, or they would make us go to our grandparents' farm where we had to help work on the farm. My parents both grew up on family farms and had to work from an early age, so they expected my sister and me to do the same, even though we lived in town. I'm really sorry. Because it doesn't mean that when they were younger, they worked so that their children should also work. The society is progressing. They progressed from living in farms to living in town. They should integrate in the way of life around them. Even though your parents are American, in this way they were like most Greeks. Greek families, and especially Greeks living abroad, they have this idea in their mind. The way I was brought should be the same way for my children to be brought up. No. They were brought in another era, under different circumstances, and what happened to them was the same like what happened to the other children around them. Now that they are parents, now that they are parents, or now that we are parents, we need to adjust to society's norms now. It's not normal to bring children up indifferently of the social circumstances. A rule for parents is that if your children attend a school and their classmates have some routines like child labor or no child labor, to follow what happens with other children their age. Not to say we're different, we're a better family than other families. Other families are stupid that they don't make their children work. We will make our children work. Because we worked when we were young, and we turned up fine, yes, very fine. They spank their children, they shame their children, they triangulate their children, but they are fine. So our children should be the same. I don't know, they sound a lot like Cypriots or Greeks, your parents, even though they are Americans. It still makes me feel bad if I take a weekend to not do something productive. Oh, so they made you feel that you are only worthy if you are working. You are only worthy if you do things around the house. You are only worthy if you produce something. That you are not worthy if you relax or take some time to yourself. It's true that workaholism can be passed from generation to generation as a generational trauma. Workaholism is a psychological situation in which the person is addicted to working and the stress that working provides. I can see how it is tied to this conditioning growing up, but I don't know how to just stop it and move on. You need therapy to do that. I don't know if you are on therapy, but you need to be on therapy and work it out with your therapist. I also have this problem myself, and I'm working on it with my therapist. And my therapist very often texts me or tells me you should take care of yourself, take some time off, don't overwork yourself. It's important for your psyche and for your body, for your psychological and emotional and physical health to take rest. Let's go to the other presents your upbringing gave you. I have struggled with social anxiety since I was young. Of course you have. Shaming leads to social anxiety. This is another reason I did not have a lot of friends in elementary and high school. I did find more friends later in college and graduate school. I can also remember my parents yelling at me and even spanking me a few times for things that, when I look back on, were a result of my social anxiety. This is a vicious circle. They shame you. This makes you have social anxiety, and then they shame you and spank you for having social anxiety, and so on. For example, I remember vividly a time my family went to a pizza restaurant. They would bring the bill to the table, and you would need to go up to a counter with a cash register to pay. I remember my parents would sometimes have my sister take the bill and money up to the register to pay, and eventually they wanted me to do it. I can see how they wanted us to learn an adult skill of paying in a restaurant, but I was terrified to do it at the time. Was it that they wanted you to learn an adult skill, or was it that they were bored to go to the registry and pay, or they were socially anxious themselves? I talk to you now from the standpoint of a parent as well. Sometimes, if I tell my children to go and pay the bill, and I question myself why you did that, the answer is I feel shy to go to the register myself, or I feel shy to talk to the waiter. And sometimes we talk with my children. My two younger children are going to school. My daughter is a teenager and my son is 9 years old. And my daughter tells me, my younger daughter tells me many times that, do you also feel shy to walk around many people? And I say yes. Do you also feel shy to go and ask a question at the service counter? And I say yes. I tell the truth that I also feel shy. And also social anxiety of the parents can affect their children, because children learn by example. And if the parent feels social anxiety, this is easily transferred to the child as well. So don't be so sure that they were teaching you an adult skill. Maybe they were avoiding themselves to feel the social anxiety to go to a stranger and pay the bill. Another example is I was young and they wanted me to call my aunt to tell her we were coming over for a visit. I was too scared to call, but my parents yelled and yelled. I did not end up calling, but when we did go over to my aunt's house, my parents told everyone how I was too scared to call, so they shamed you once again. looking back, I can see how there were classic examples of social anxiety, but my parents would just yell at me. I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. My relationship with my sister has always been odd. She's 2 years older, and I remember being jealous often of the things she got to do, but which I was told I was too young to do. So she had more privileges than you. And my parents would compare my grades in classes to the grades of my sister received when she had taken those classes. This is wrong. Each child has their own dynamic, and we shouldn't compare children. It's unacceptable for parents to compare their children and triangulate them. Growing up, one of my sister's favorite things to do was to hide somewhere in the house, like behind the door, and then jump out and scare me when I would come by. She now does this to her oldest son. I think that your sister is sadistic, eh? She enjoys making people scared. Other noteworthy episodes. At my graduation party from high school, my sister announced her engagement. So she reigned in your parade. It was your graduation party, it was your moment, but she had to be the star of the evening, announcing her engagement. I remember our family and teachers from over the years showing up to the party for my graduation, for the spotlight to then go to my sister. Of course. This is so narcissistic, eh? Her engagement was the focus of everyone. At another party for me, this time we were out at a restaurant to celebrate me getting my doctorate. Oh, you own a PhD. Good for you. Kudos. My sister announced to my family that she will never call me doctor. WTF. And that my doctorate in the social sciences was the equivalent of her and my father's engineering degrees, because according to her, engineering is more difficult. Oh my. She's an narc. Your sister is a narc for sure. She took after your parents. Ah. I remember no one corrected her. The golden child, your sister, huh? And she was envious of you getting a doctorate. It's so very difficult to receive a doctorate. You need to work really hard in any science. Oh my God. My dad smiled. She has never even worked as an engineer. She became pregnant her last semester of college and became a homemaker instead. And she had been a homemaker for 6 years by time of the party to celebrate my doctorate. Of course. She studied to become an engineer. She never worked as an engineer, but she got to mock you for receiving a PhD. Bad for you that you have such a narcissistic sister. More recently, my sister's need to one-up me has entered our family group chat. If I share a picture of a nice meal I'm having, she then shares hers. Recently, I went to see the London Philharmonic when they toured the US, and I posted a photo to Facebook that our high school music teacher commented on. My sister found a concert to go to the next day and posted a pic of her as a reply on the thread of comments on my photo. Oh my God! I'm afraid of your sister. She's so envious. Oh! Wow. About 12 years ago now, my sister's second child died at the age of 2 after fighting a genetic disease that caused seizures since birth. I'm sorry. The 2 years of his life revolved around my sister and her family. Everyone focused on them, helping them, rightfully so. After his death, my sister has kept the spotlight on her. Every anniversary of his death, his birthday, Mother's Day, she goes onto Facebook with posts about her heartache. Other people in our extended family have lost children, but I only see this behavior from my sister, of course. The narcissist, and especially the narcissist who has histrionic tendencies, they would take advantage even of the death of a child to seek for attention. As I mentioned earlier, my family has little outward displays of affection and has also very little inward displays of affection or none. We also do not talk much. We have a family group chat, but my parents have never called me on the phone. If I do not call them, we would not speak. I would tell you that you are lucky that they don't call you, because some other kind of narcissistic parents keep calling and calling and calling, and you need to block them at the end. We go months without speaking on the phone, but we text several times a week. Texting is more impersonal than talking on the phone. Though communication on the group chat is usually only started by me or my sister. I would ask you, why are you on this group chat, family group chat? Why don't you leave? My family also rarely visits me. After graduate school, I moved several states away. I have lived here for 8 years and my parents have visited me 3 times. If I do not travel home, I do not see my family. My husband points out that I do not speak up to invite them or tell them it is ridiculous that they do not call me or tell my sister off when she says things that diminish me. So your husband points out that you do not speak up to invite them or to tell them that it is ridiculous that they do not call you or tell your sister off when she says things that diminish you. I ardently avoid conflict and am non-confrontational. My husband says I lose my voice. When my husband and I do have conflict, it makes him more upset because I become very passive. Sometimes I will not even answer him when we are arguing because I honestly do not know what to say. You shut down. You get afraid, you get anxious, and you shut down. I'm afraid I will make the conflict worse. Deep down, I feel that if I do not engage with it, the conflict will just go away. So this is a defense mechanism. It's really obvious that you suffer from Cptsd, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. All these numerous traumas you accumulated growing up are in your brain, they are in your memory, and every time that something happens that serves as a trigger to you, you have an emotional flashback. You get emotionally dysregulated, you lose your voice, you are afraid, and you are passive. In the excellent book by the therapist, author Pete Walker about Cptsd, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, a guide and map for recovering from childhood trauma. This is an excellent book that I recommend that you read and will help you understanding how your trauma makes you lose your voice and avoid conflict. In that book, Pete Walker talks about the 4F: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. The 4Fs are 4 basic defense mechanisms that children use in order to avoid feeling pain, and that when you use them often, they become part of your modus operandi, and when you are an adult, every time you get triggered, you definitely fall into freeze, you don't know what you do, and to fawn, you shrink yourself in order to be invisible. So this is a sign that most probably you suffer from Cptsd. As I said earlier, since my husband and I began discussing our childhood and families in more detail, I have come to realize that my childhood experiences, emotional struggles, and family dynamics have all contributed to my current behavior and personality. This brings me to my question. How can I become less conflict avoidant, less passive, and stand up for myself? Thank you very much for reading my mail warmly. And he says his name. Thank you very much for writing this email to me. I have to tell you that your email is really a classical story. It's like a textbook case. how a child is brought up in an emotionally and corporally abusive household, how an intelligent, a bright child, a good-hearted child, a child that has empathy, is brought up by harsh parents, by parents with narcissistic personality types. Both your parents are narcissistic, and your sister also is narcissistic. How someone who is an empath, someone who has a pure and kind soul, someone who chooses to be a good person, is brought up by people that are very different than him or than her, and how the emotional and corporal abuse and shaming can shape the way they relate to themselves. The problem is that they taught you that you are not worthy of love. They told you that whatever you do is not enough. They told you that you should be ashamed of yourself. All these examples you gave of your upbringing resulted in you not loving yourself enough. You need to build your self-esteem. Not only your self-confidence, but mostly your self-esteem. You need to learn to love yourself. I know that this sounds very simplistic, but it is not. We have one vessel to connect with other people, and that vessel is ourselves. The most important person in anybody's life is themselves. If we are not lovingly connected to ourselves, if we do not have a good opinion of ourselves, if we do not love ourselves, then we will not be able to protect ourselves, and we will take the blame for everything wrong that goes around. What you say about your family shows me a dysfunctional family, a family that has two narcissistic parents in church and one narcissistic daughter. And you are the black sheep of the family. She is the golden child of the family. Were I in your position, I am in your position. Maybe your Greek husband told you about this, because I am pro self-reveal on my Greek YouTube channel. I talk a lot about myself and my family dynamics, my family of origin dynamics. I was also born in a household that was very similar to yours. There were some differences. My father was the one doing the spanking, and my mother was the one doing the shaming. And I had a sibling 3 years younger than me. And it is really funny because you say that you were not allowed to do things because you were younger, but my brother was younger and he was allowed to do more things than me, that I was older. Anyway, my solution to get rid of all the triggers was to go no contact with them. But as I said earlier, I'm older than you, and I found this solution some years ago. Most of my life, I was trying hard to establish a good relationship with them. I was trying really hard to show them that I'm a good person, to impress them, to make them feel welcome. I was trying to please them, but to no avail. I'm not suggesting that you should go like this, no contact with your parents and sister just by listening to this video. But I'm urging you to consider therapy and also consider how to set your limits. But you need to work on your relationship with yourself first. You are really lucky that your spouse is a person that has psychological knowledge and he gets psychoeducated. That's good. That's really good. And it's nice that you discuss with each other the family dynamics of your origin families. This is really nice. I'm really happy for you that you have a good partner, and you can make it. You can change yourself. You can change your relationship with yourself. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not a bad person. You just don't know it. You are filled with toxic shame. You feel that you are to blame for things that you're not to blame. And you don't feel courageous enough to stand up for yourself. All these are results of that normal family upbringing you had. It is true that people are people and humans are the same everywhere. And even though you were brought up in a much different geographical area of the earth than us, the Greeks and the Cypriots, you had similar dynamics in your family upbringing. Wow. Wow. Okay. I will include in the description of this video a link on the book by Pete Walker that I introduced, that I recommended to you. And I would love to have an update from you in some months' time with your progress. I wish you the best. You have my love. Bye. And for people watching this video, feel free to comment in the comment section, and it would be lovely to have input if other people have similar experiences and similar difficulties. And about couples relations and fighting, maybe we should make a video about how a couple fights in a healthy manner, because there is a healthy way of fighting. Bye. Have you liked my video? Press the like button, subscribe, etc.